So when I started my channel, I realized that the content I wanted to make was going to take a lot longer because it requires writing scripts and, idea planning and storyboarding and editing and all that stuff. And so I didn't want, 2016 to hit and I had absolutely nothing, because for me it's one of those things that if I don't do it, then it's never going to happen, and I would hate for that to happen. So since we are right at the cusp of ending 2015, I figured it was now or never. So until I get the web series that I planned off the ground, one of the things I thought I could do is start a web series called Real Talk. And Real Talk is really nothing more than this: me sitting and talking and drinking my coffee and just discussing things that, that come to mind, things that I like to think of, things that just kind of upset me, things that I find interesting, and all of that. And so one of the first things that came to mind for me is being a Christian. Because I'm a Christian, I love being a Christian. I find that for me in my life, it is incredibly fruitful, and it's not one of those things that I am willing to debate or argue people on, because whatever you believe, that is your prerogative. And yes, I'm entitled to my opinion of thinking that you're crazy, but if you don't believe God exists, then that's kind of your own thing. I would rather live my life knowing that God exists and then die, find out that I might be wrong, and still have lived a good life, than to not believe that God exists, die and find out that he does exist, and then I have to go to hell because I didn't do everything I was supposed to do because he existed. And thinking of that really kind of made me think about the fact that it's a little frustrating for me, because I'm a Christian that believes in reading my Bible. I believe in really kind of being obedient and, praying and seeking God and really kind of determining his plan for me. And more than that, for me, life is about, finding a form of, let's just say it, purity in today's world. And not purity in the fact of, oh, I'm completely naive, completely innocent, because I don't believe that that's a good thing at all. And I don't believe that God made us to be idiots. He wouldn't talk about wise people versus the fool if he wanted us all to be fools. So I think the thing that people don't understand about purity is that it's more than just being innocent. It's really kind of, finding a way to live in today's world without letting the world as it is today affect you. So, for me, I enjoy being celibate, and living in a world today that says that, free sex is the greatest thing that you can do. It makes it a little bit difficult, because for me, I don't find it enthusing. Like, I don't find enjoyment in the idea of sleeping with people just because, the world tells me that I can. And so for me, that means making sure that my world is okay. And my world does still include, the rest of the world as it is today, but it's understanding that for me, I tailor my thoughts. I tailor maybe some of the situations that I'm around. I basically allow myself to build sort of like a safe haven around me, all while understanding that the world is still going to be as it's going to be, and I still have to live in it. I just don't have to engage in it. And I think that's sort of the thing that's been missing today, is reach the point where no one can tell who is an actual practicing Christian versus someone who just says they're a Christian but does everything that they want to do with their lives. And for me, I find it hard to call somebody like that a Christian, because when you're not respecting God and you're not being obedient, then it's hard for me to say that you are in all things actually Christian. Because again, you're being disobedient. And yes, I know we're always going to have that, well, nobody's perfect, but nobody is expected to be perfect. I think if God wanted perfect beings, he wouldn't have created humans. And let's just be honest about that. So he knows that we're going to fail, and he knows that we're going to fail epically a lot of the time. But it's not a matter of failing. That is the thing. It's what we do when we fail. We can't just keep walking around saying, oh, well, I did something I wasn't supposed to do, so I'm going to apologize, and then I'm going to keep doing that thing that I wasn't supposed to do. That's not repenting. That's giving a half-hearted apology. That's telling God, I really don't want to stop doing what I'm doing. So I'm going to justify all the reasons I should be able to do what I want to do. And then I'm going to apologize if I feel like what I'm saying is bad. And then once I apologize, I'm going to keep doing it, but I'm going to pretend that you're okay with it. And somehow, some way, that's going to make me feel better. But the thing that we have to understand is that God doesn't always see it that way. Repentance means to turn away. And when you turn away from something, that means you're not actually doing that thing anymore. So, you see what I'm saying? We can't keep giving God half-hearted apologies and thinking that because, Christianity today has painted God as this ultra-kind God who's like this progressive or, liberally whatever, who just forgets absolutely everything, and we can walk all over him and we can do whatever we want to do, and as long as we say we're sorry once, everything's written away and we can keep doing what we want to do. That's not reality. In reality, even ourselves, God compares himself to either a father to his children, or sometimes even a mother to his children, but a lot of times he likens himself as a husband to a wife, with the church being the bride. And when you look at it that way, in our daily lives, I wouldn't respect my husband if I could do anything I wanted to do. If I could get away with anything. If I could run the streets, have sex with whoever I wanted to have sex with, and drink until I'm drunk, like get DUIs, do everything under the sun that is depraved and not respectful of my husband at all, and I came home and he just sat there and he looked at me, but he never said anything, and I said, I'm sorry, and then he says, oh, it's okay, it wouldn't stop me from doing what I'm doing, because I don't respect this person. I think we've gotten used to the idea of God being this passive being, that we can do whatever we want, we can say whatever we want, we can act however we want. Life is for us to do anything and everything that we want to do. And as long as we say sorry, or as long as we convince ourselves that God is not upset with us, that God is not going to say anything or do anything, we can just keep doing what we want to do. And it's time for us to stop that. We need to stop thinking that God is just okay with us doing things that we know we're not supposed to do. Because He's not okay with it. We wouldn't be okay with it if people continue to step on our toes. We wouldn't be okay if we were with somebody who continued cheating and they were a serial cheater, and no matter what we said or how many times we forgave them, they continued to cheat and they continued to do what they wanted to do, completely disrespecting you. There is no way that we would ever just sit back and say, oh, it's all okay. If we did, we would be called a doormat, because that's exactly what we would be. So why on earth do we paint God as being a doormat? Think about it for a second, because I think it's important that we understand that. Why do we see God as being a doormat? Is it because we want to do what we want to do? In which case, you kind of deserve the consequences you get for doing what you want to do and disobeying God. Let me know. If you like this comment, or if you like this content, I should say, if you like this content, or if you're interested in discussing, then put it on the comments below. And if you are interested in more things like this, then click the like button and subscribe. And I will come back probably, well, the hope is every week for this, as I work on the regular web content that I want to do. So we'll see. Come back and we'll see what happens.